I'll get you that.
They just started yesterday.
Karen, are you ready? Wow. If you would please stand and join us as we say the pledge and have an invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we'd like to thank you for the opportunities to participate in government, and we just ask that you guide us and direct us and give us wisdom, Lord. Your will be done in Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen. We'll go ahead and open the meeting. And the first item on the agenda is the minutes. Everybody should have a chance to review the minutes from the September meeting, I believe, that we have tonight. Karen's doing her best to get caught up, so. We have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Announcements. Before we get going too far, Mac, I want to make sure we introduce our new Planning Commission member, Ms. Barbara Brooke. Welcome aboard. Look forward to having you up here and working with us. Do you have anything, Mac, announcement-wise?
Yes, sir. We're going to have 3 requests to continue tonight. Two of them are the legislative items, and one is number 6, the Miramar Beach Hotel.
Let's go ahead and take them first.
If you'd like to go ahead and take those now.
Yeah.
The first item, Christ the King Episcopal Church Educational Building number 2, small scale amendment. We're requesting to continue that to February 14th, the next available Planning Commission meeting in this location at 4 p.m.
We have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anybody from the audience wish to comment on that? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The second item, the Golf Garden large-scale amendment, we have a request to continue that item to the February 14th Planning Commission meeting at 4 p.m. in this location.
We have a motion?
Motion to continue.
Motion second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then in our quasi-judicial section, item number 6, the last item on that section of the agenda, the Miramar Beach Hotel, we request to continue that item to February 14th Planning Commission meeting, the next available Planning Commission meeting at 4 p.m. in this location.
Commissioners?
Motion continue.
Motion, we have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Any comments from the audience? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Before we go too much farther, Matt, would it be appropriate to go ahead and, would it be okay, I guess, to go ahead and move that last item on the meeting dates up and go ahead and, where we don't forget about it at the end? And also we need to, I think this is a meeting where we need to address electing the chairman and vice chair.
Yes, sir.
If you, was it item under additional business? You want to take that one first on the calendar?
Do you have the calendar dates in front of you?
They're on your,
Okay.
they're on the meeting notes on the tablet. And nothing's changed, it's still the second Tuesday of the month.
We need a motion to approve them.
We need a motion to approve, yeah.
Motion to approve the dates.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That one's out of the way. And commissioners, every year we elect the chairman and vice chairman. And I guess we can open up the floor to nominations.
I'd like to nominate Teddy for chair. He's done a great job, and I'd like to see him continue.
Second.
Any other nominations?
I move to be closed.
You gentlemen are not real nice, are you? If not, okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I do thank you, I think, but, we'll get her done. Mac?
Co-chairman.
Oh, vice chair.
I'd like to keep Lee as our current.
Nominate Lee.
Nominate Lee.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other nominations?
I move
All
to
in
be
favor say
closed.
aye. Opposed? Congratulations. It's too late. It passed anyway.
Mr. Chairman, the remainder of our agenda is quasi judicial.
Anyone who anticipates testifying on any of the items on tonight's agenda, if you would stand to be sworn in at this time. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide to this board will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Whenever you come forward, if you would, sorry, can you guys hear me? When you come forward, if you would, state your name and state that you've been sworn in. Thank you.
It's on you.
Matt Carpenter, C-A-R-P-E-N-T-E-R, for the planning department. We're on item number 3. This is the Water Sound North Camp Creek Development of Regional Impact Amendment. It's a request to approve by resolution. I'm going to ask Renee Bradley to briefly introduce that for us.
First, I'd like to enter staff report to the record.
Accepted.
The Watersound Company LLC is requesting approval to amend the Watersound North Plan Unit Development and Development of Regional Impact. This project is located north and south of US Highway 98 on the eastern boundary of the county and identified by the parcel numbers in your packet. Additionally, this is in the Walton Bay Sector Plan with the future land use of village center, town center, recreational, open space, long-term conservation, and coastal village, one per the Bay Walton Sector Plan. The request tonight is to utilize the approved equivalency land use matrix to convert 39 multifamily units to 6 holes of golf, 34,400 square feet of office to 160 single-family units. The relocation of 52,835 square feet of commercial from Watersound North to Camp Creek. That would be north of 98 to south of 98. The relocation of 20,000 square feet of office from Watersound North to Camp Creek, north of 98 to south of 98. Decrease 27 acres of residential from the Watersound North and 27 acres from Camp Creek for a total decrease of 54 acres of residential. Parks and Recreation increased 17 acres in Watersound North and decreased 17 acres in Camp Creek, a net change of 0. There's 12 acres of temporary offices at Camp Creek, changed to 12 acres of mixed use in this development. The mixed use acres have increased 10 acres for Watersound North and 61 acres for the Camp Creek, for a total of 71 acres. This includes the acres for the temporary offices, as mentioned earlier. And the golf course at Watersound North, there'd be no change in acres, and Camp Creek decreased by 17 acres. At the end of all this, basically the net acreage is going to be a 0 change. Your open space acreages are not going to be changed. Staff doesn't have any outstanding comments on this. We did send this project to the school board. We didn't receive any comments back from them. And I'd be glad to turn it over to the applicant at this time unless you have any questions for me.
Anybody have any questions for staff?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm new, I did read several things and look up several things, and I have questions on why some things were done the way they were. I noticed that there was a traffic analysis done for the 98 South Watersound Parkway intersection, but not for the 30A South Watersound Parkway intersection. And I believe, given there's a potential for a school where we know many people take their children to school these days rather than using a school bus, and the commercial things being added in that area, that there could be a lot more traffic coming from the west on 30A, and that during peak times now is getting rather hectic to make turns there. Is there any reason why they weren't asked to do a traffic analysis for there? Like maybe we need more stop signs or a stoplight or?
Well, the DRI itself required them to do the signalization there at 98, and they were not required to do so in the DRI on 30A. So I do believe that's part of it, but I'd feel more comfortable letting their engineer answer that question for you as far as
Okay.
the traffic goes, because I'm not a traffic engineer.
Okay.
You did say open space was the same,
Yes, sir.
okay.
We'll let the
Is there
project
anything
people
else?
come up, he can probably answer a lot more questions than you can, so.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Commission. I'm David Smith with Interline Engineering, and I'd be more than happy to answer your question, or I can do a general overview and then answer all questions at the end, if you would like.
Maybe you can answer some questions as you go through it, and at the
Absolutely.
end, we'll come
Sure.
back to any questions that are unanswered. if that's
Absolutely.
okay.
I'll do just a general overview, then I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. And the Camp Creek PUD was originally approved in 1999, and the Water Sound North DRI was approved by Resolution 2005-40 in 2005. And with those approvals, there was an equivalency matrix that was approved as part of the DRI and the PUD, and the equivalency matrix allows us to convert uses within the development by approved rates that are part of the DRI and PUD documents. So what's before you this evening is we are, as Renee presented, requesting to convert 39 multifamily units, 6 golf course holes, 34,400 square feet of office to 160 single-family residential homes. And we're also requesting to relocate 52,835 square feet of commercial from Watersell North, and I'll point to this map here. This is Watersell North, which is north of US Highway 98. We're proposing to transfer that to Camp Creek, which is south of US Highway 98. And we're also proposing to relocate 20,000 square feet of office from Watersell North to Camp Creek, which is south of US Highway 98. One of the other things we're requesting this evening is to modify and refine our land uses. So as Renee mentioned, we are proposing to reduce our residential land use by 54 acres. We are proposing to increase the mixed-use land use by 71 acres, to reduce the overall golf course and clubhouse land use of 17 acres. And then the net for the parks, recreation, conservation, and open space, it will remain the same. So as Renee said also, at the end, it's a net zero of changes within the land use. It'll stay the same as what was originally approved. So that's the general overview, and I'd be more than happy to answer questions. If you have additional questions, or I can start with the traffic
Why don't you
question.
start with Ms. Brooks' question?
And the traffic consultant did analyze that intersection just to show there was no degradation of that intersection by the change per the equivalency matrix or increased trip count that would degrade those roadway segments. There wasn't an analysis of 38. There was not.
Was not.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
But that did show there was no degradation of that intersection that would be created by the equivalency matrix transfer per the DRI. So with that, I know it was reviewed by staff and the traffic consultants on county staff, and it was determined there would be no degradation of the roadway segments.
I've got a question along those same lines. I've heard, I'm assuming it's true, that Camp Creek is supposedly supposed to connect all the way across back around to the airport some point in time in the future, and that road will be a bridge across the intercoastal waterway, connecting to Latitudes, which is a St. Joe project. Is that correct?
I would have to let St. Joe speak to that. I've heard discussions, but I haven't seen anything formal showing that. But I know St. Joe is here, and I can let them speak to it if there is something formal. But I've heard of discussions as well, but I haven't seen anything formal showing the crossing.
Okay, but that would increase a lot of traffic.
Like, I'll let Bridget Precise speak.
Yeah.
Bridget Precise, P-R-E-C-I-S-E. I'm with the St. Joe Company. Yes,
Bridget, were
DOT,
you sworn in?
I was sworn in, yes, thank you. DOT is working on a new road that will connect Highway 98 to the new airport across the intercoastal. They are still working on their final alignment. We do not anticipate that it will connect at that intersection where South Watersound Parkway is. The intersection with Highway 98 will be a little bit further to the west.
So it's not going to be at Camp Creek?
Correct.
Okay.
Thanks to that question.
One of the other questions I had to do with, again, with traffic analysis. One of them, they did turning analysis in February, which we know is the lowest traffic time, and supposedly use some sort of a simulation to, is there some reason you wouldn't wait and just do it during peak season?
And I'm speaking for the traffic consultant, but when they do their their trip counts, they utilize DOT counts that are obtained in July. So the
Okay.
count stations by DOT are obtained in July, and that's where the base traffic data is utilized.
Okay, so even though it said they did the analysis in February, it was using data from a peak period of time?
Yes, ma'am, and the same as in the county's concurrency management system is
Okay.
they call it background trips.
Okay,
That's data that's collected by the DOT count stations
Alright.
in your peak month, which is
Okay.
in the July month.
and then also, because I'd never heard of it before, I went and looked up the highway capacity manual, and there in fact is one that was done in 2016, and they used one from 2010. Do you know why they would use such an old document, or?
I'm not sure on that
Okay.
one. I'm sorry.
All right, that's all.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'd be more than happy to answer any other questions.
Commissioners? I guess generally, what is the reasoning, I guess, behind all this movement and change?
It's just with a development of this size, you know, it's been a period of time as things change.
Mhm.
And as development occurs, you'll refine certain areas that have been developed and open space areas, and then there's different markets, so that that's why the equivalency matrix is in place to allow the change. And it's just with a development that lasts so long, it does change over time.
Well, I understand. That answers the question. It's just, I think it's interesting just to see where things are being moved to. And I know that's directly tied to what's happening on the ground today versus 2005 or
Yes, sir.
whenever it was approved initially. Okay.
Are you keeping the same size golf course?
The golf course size is being reduced as part of this by 17 acres. The hole count is also being reduced by 6.
So,
That's the total build out of the golf course. What's there today is staying the same, but then they have the right to build additional golf course
But,
holes.
okay, that's not gonna affect the open space.
Not what's there today, no, sir.
I mean, they're gonna have a 12-hole golf course?
They could. Whatever the difference is between 18 and the total, they could.
Okay. The likelihood is they'd build another 9 and have 3 9s that they could alternate you on.
I just never heard reducing it by 6.
Yeah,
so-
that's kind of unusual for a golf course. Commissioners, any other questions for the applicant? Just hold on in case we need you. okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You bet. And we're gonna open the floor to questions from the audience. I don't have any sign-up sheets. I don't know if no one signed up, or we just didn't get that done today. But is there anybody who would like to address this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comments. Commissioners, what's your pleasure? We have a motion? No motion?
Well, I think it's basically the same thing they already had. They're just, updating it to take advantage of the development patterns that we have now, which of course change over time. So it looks like they're doing more residential, so I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, we will need a second motion on this. We would like to see this done in a manner that we're doing the DRI, because it will be approved by resolution. If we could get a motion for approval on that, and the PUD being the major development, also a motion on that, because it comes right behind it.
Well, it's just the next
It's
item.
exactly the same thing, sir. It's just one's the PUD and one's the DRI, and they run in together, but we need two separate motions, please.
So no additional information, it's just the second
No,
item.
sir.
It's the same.
The staff report's identical.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion,
Which one?
This-
item number 4.
It's the same thing.
It's the same.
Same.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anybody who wishes to address item number 4 on the agenda? Okay, seeing none. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. This moves us to item number 5 on our agenda. This is the Origins Crossing proposed development. It's a major development, and this is a request to approve by final order. On behalf of Water Sound Company, they're requesting approval to develop 217 multifamily apartments on approximately 19.87 acres with the future land use of Coastal Village 1. Project's located on the north side of US 98, approximately a quarter-mile east of the Water Sound Parkway, and identified by parcel numbers in your package. This project went before the Design Review Board and received unanimous approval at their most recent meeting. We'd like to request the staff report be entered into evidence. The applicant is here to further describe his case.
Staff report's accepted. You're up. The police phone stopped going off, you can talk.
And I won't shut it down.
Good evening, Robert Carroll, McNeil Carroll Engineering, 17800 Panama City Beach Parkway, and I have been sworn in. We are here before you requesting approval of this multifamily project. It is located on the eastern side of Walton County, on the north side of Highway 98. It does contain 217 units. There are 2 building types on the site. There's a mixture of 3-story buildings, and there's 2 4-story buildings, which are in the rear of the property. Out of the breakdown of the units, we've got 1-bedroom units, 2 bedrooms, 3-bedroom units. There's about, 60 one-bedroom, 124 of the 2 bedrooms, and 33 of the 3 bedrooms. And your parking criteria breakdown. So the 1 bedrooms, you have to have 1.5 parking spaces, 2 bedrooms, 2, and then in 3, you have to have 3 parking spaces for a total. Needed 437, we're at 456, so we have overparked it just to make sure that there's adequate parking there. There's a clubhouse. There's a large stormwater retention area, lots of walking amenities within the development. So we're just here to respectfully request approval.
Mr. Carroll, this is not any kind of affordable housing, this is just
No, sir.
regular? Okay.
Yes, sir. The group that's developing this, they've done multifamily all over the place in Alabama. They've got one currently in construction in Panama City Beach. They've done it in Pensacola. These are really nice high-end apartments.
Can you explain the height limitation, where they're gonna have the tower at 59 feet?
Well, that's where the elevator shaft, there's some stuff that's above the ground, but the actual roof lines, it's just under 50 feet, it's 49 feet, and I believe about 8 inches is the maximum height. You're allowed to have, I think it's up to 10% of the area of the roof that allows to protrude above that height, and we meet that criteria. That came up during Design Review Board, and it met all that criteria.
I was just asking because I know that, we get height questions a lot, and I wanna make sure that we're okay on that, because it says the tower's gonna be 59 feet, so it'll be 9 feet above the
Yes, sir.
limitation, but there are reasons that that is allowed, and I just wanna make sure that was.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in the US 98 scenic corridor, the height limitation for that includes non-habitable space above 50 feet can go up to 70 feet. That's part of the US 98 331 scenic corridor regulations, and it's done for architectural purposes. But it can be habitable space.
It cannot be or can be? Cannot be, okay.
Where's that measured from? Crown of the road,
From grade,
from grade?
average
Okay.
grade, yes, sir. It's just this one area here.
Okay.
I guess a question on that, because I'm not sure how flat that land or how hilly that land is there, but is that something where you would take the grade down in order to be able to fit that in, or is that on
No,
the
we actually had-
natural
It's
elevation?
based on average grade, and where is
What's
some
average
fill.
grading?
Yes, sir, and there is some fill going in on that site, and it was measured, originally there was more fill on the site, and therefore it didn't meet the height criteria, so we had to reevaluate the entire site and lower it, not
Okay.
bringing as much fill.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, we get a lot of concern about height around here.
Yes, sir.
Understandably.
I understand, oh, absolutely.
Okay. Commissioner, y'all have any other questions for the applicant?
Is there any spot in there in the complex anywhere for, everybody always talks about a place to park for transit systems, some type of tram to go through there? Is there any spot in there to park such animal if it need be?
You'll notice with the site plan, there's no dead ends anywhere, so there's no dead end parking lots, everything free flows through there. We've even got on the 2 larger buildings, there's actually drop-off areas there. So if somebody goes grocery shopping or whatever, they want to park, they can park under a canopy and stay out of the weather. So it can come anywhere throughout that site, because it does have complete circulation. So they can come completely all the way through here, they can stop anywhere they want, but there's no dead ends anywhere. So if they wanted to have something in there. And then the commercial aspect will continue to the west, and these roads will interact with that and interconnect with Water Sound Parkway, so making it all complete once it's all done.
So there's no planned trolley stops per se, but it's designed so that they could freely flow through?
It can be in there, absolutely.
Right.
Yes, sir. Especially when the commercial comes in, it'll allow it to free flow through the commercial and keep going to the west to Water Sound Parkway.
Okay. Answer your question?
Yes, it is.
Anybody else?
I do have a question. I noticed that the flood zones are X and A, and you still have to get your, what do they call it, letter of map revision from FEMA having to do with the water and where you build. But it appears to me that there's a lot of A compared to X. What if they disapprove it? Are you still going to try and work with this location? How do you deal with the water?
Yes, ma'am. We're working with a group to do that flood stain, to get them out of the flood zone. You can build within it, you just have to have higher flood insurance. And we're raising this site, so it's not a problem to have that.
I see.
There were some wetlands on the site. All those permits are secured with DEP and the Corps. It's just a matter of having that correct elevation.
Mr. Carroll, along with that, I'm assuming that all stormwater is contained on site, or is there, or how's that?
Yes, sir. So, right here,
Right.
all of that stormwater there. Your rule says 25-year critical, or if you're
Mhm.
discharging off-site, 100 year. So this has been designed for 100-year storm
On your
events.
storm,
Yes,
that was, that's the second part of it, I guess, is if
Yes,
you're
sir.
building up, how's that going to affect everybody else?
Correct. And it's a
That's
wet
good. That
detention
means
facility, which will be an amenity,
Right.
and it'll be a nice feature out there with a walking trail all the way around it.
Very good.
That's good. That means it'll handle the water every other week we've had.
Water table's up high right now.
Yes, it
Really
is.
Really high.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners?
Which phase is this, in your residential drawdown?
Excuse me, sir?
Which phase is this supposed to be? I'm looking at your charts, as residential drawdown. You got phase,
That's a different project. This, we're not part of that. You talking about the PUD amendment?
okay, right here.
Which, where you at?
Oh, you're on
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay,
that's the PUD
okay.
stuff.
This is one project. We're gonna build this all in one phase.
Okay, I
Right.
got you. That's why I'm confused.
Okay. Anybody else?
Does that make sense?
Thank you, sir, for now.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and open the floor for public comments. Is there anybody who wishes to address this item? Yes, sir.
I have not been sworn.
Oh, okay. Can you raise your hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide to this board will be the truth?
I do.
And please spell your name for the record.
Name is Bob Brooke, B-R-O-O-K-E. I have one question. I happen to notice that this unit or development is just to the east of the entrance to Water Sound's Origins. And from the diagram I could see up there on the display screen, there's going to be another entrance and exit onto 98 and another crossing of 98. Is that correct, or is the entrance to this development through the existing Origins entrance area?
Mr. Carroll, can you address that?
So this will have a new exit onto Highway 98. There will be a left turn lane for eastbound traffic, but it won't be a median opening. It's a bidirectional opening. So therefore, when you leave the development, if you want to go towards Bay County, you're gonna have to take the right, go up to the next one, and do a U-turn. It's a lot safer movement that DOT requires, so it won't be an open median. It's just a left turn lane.
It's a
connecting
curb
to the
cut, but
right.
not a median cut.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Brooke?
I'm sorry, there's not an open median there? It looked like
Yeah.
if you're coming east on 98, you have to cross the westward lane, the westbound lane of 98 to get in. But did you say if you come out, if you want to go east, you have to go north and then make a U-turn?
No, you go
Definitely
west.
I'm sorry, west and make a
Yes.
U-turn.
That's correct.
Is that, what's the advantage to just having people go out the entrance that's already there? What's the advantage of adding another entrance?
There is no entrance.
There's nothing there right now on this parcel.
This is a new entrance we're creating.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. I mean, can't you get from this parcel to the existing entrance to Water Sound Origins on the north? I mean, you're gonna have to go up to South Water Sound or South Water Sound Parkway to make the U-turn, correct? If you wanted to go east.
If that's your question, then we'll let him answer.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
have a seat, okay?
I just like, why not go out
Okay.
the existing entrance?
All right, thank you.
This doesn't directly abut it. There's a big commercial tract between the two. So
Right.
once that gets developed, there will be interconnectivity. But for now, we meet the separation criteria to allow us to have a separate entrance.
That makes sense. Anybody else? Yes,
I
sir.
wasn't sworn in, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
That's all right. Just raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide to this board will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
And what was your name, sir?
My name is Larry Grillot, the last name is spelled Grillot. I live on Medley Street in Water Sound Origins, and I just wanted to follow up and ask the commission to keep an eye on and consider the traffic issues that are going to be brought up about this. I noticed, I believe on the diagram, that they're putting a right turn lane to go into this new development. There's been an issue, and I don't understand all the details, about not putting a right turn or an exit turn lane to go into Breakers, which is another one. It used to be the construction entrance, but it's more of a main entrance to Water Sound Origins itself, which more people are going to use now, in my opinion, once you build these apartments. And I don't have any problem with the apartments, don't get me wrong. I would just ask to think about that, because there are a lot of crossings, they're expanding bike lanes. There's going to be a lot of things going back and forth across 98 with increased traffic. And I think there is a safety issue about having the right turn lanes to get out of that traffic when you slow down, with a lot of things going on. And I would appreciate in the future the commissioners just keeping that in mind as we go through this development. And thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you. I think that's important. I think traffic is critical everywhere in South Walton, especially on Highway 98 with the amount of traffic that gets here in the summertime, so.
I think that's stuff that's controlled by the state,
Yeah.
though. I mean, traffic, we don't have a lot of control over traffic in these things, because the state mandates what we do.
Yeah,
I'm
and I think
correct.
it's, but like the gentleman said, I mean, when you put in a turn lane, it gets that traffic out of the main traffic lane, which
Yeah.
helps with a lot of that, so.
If I could, in this area, your zone, it's 65-mile-an-hour zone, so that's
Yeah.
why that turn lane is as long as it is.
Oh,
Typical
yeah.
turn lane is only 185, 200 feet long, but this one is so long because it takes that much more time to slow down from that 65, so
Yeah, and I think
it's essential to have it.
absolutely, thank you very much. Real quick,
Real quick. It is a long turn lane. The turn lane onto Breakers, the length of that one's 0. So
yeah,
that is an issue right
Okay.
now, and will become worse. Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Second by Mr. Roberts. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I believe that's the last.
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all we have tonight.
But I'm gonna just, before we leave, real quick, I know you and I had spoke earlier, Mac, about this, the planning convention or conference is coming here in the summer.
Yes, sir. Thank you for reminding me of that, although I did not have time to confirm the exact
That's
date.
okay.
But wanted to make the planning commissioners aware that the American Planning Association, the Florida chapter, which is the largest chapter in the American Planning Association in the United States, will be holding its annual conference at Sandestin later this year. The Emerald Coast chapter is the home chapter, which essentially serves Northwest Florida, and Walton County is the host this year for the first time in 20 years. We are having a very big part in this particular planning conference this year, and one of the programs that we will be providing at this conference is planning commissioner training. And normally you have to travel to somewhere in South Florida, Orlando or further south, for this conference. A couple of years ago, it was in Jacksonville, but it's usually fairly expensive to attend this kind of training. But we're bringing it here to Walton County this year, certainly for the convenience of our planning commission and our planning boards and our municipalities in this county. And we're going to make arrangements for each of you to be able to attend that if you so choose, without any charge. And we look forward to making that training available here in Walton County.
What were the dates again, Matt?
I meant to get the exact date before I left the office, but I did not. I will provide that at the very next meeting. But it will
Sometime in
be
July.
it will be later this summer. I want to say it's in July.
Do you know how many days it is?
The actual planning commissioner training is just a portion of one day.
Okay.
And we'll try to make that as convenient as possible for everyone and give you plenty of advance notice. But it is something we hope everyone would be available to participate in. It'll be some good training and give you some good background on what your role and responsibilities are on the planning commission. Usually, it may have been quite some time since one of our Walton County planning commissioners has had the opportunity to attend that, and it may be 20 years since we've had it available in a convenient location. But we did want to make you aware of that, and we're incredibly proud to be bringing the American Planning Association to the cradle of new urbanism, Walton County. And when we talk about the new urbanist communities, the Seaside is the genesis of this major international architecture and town planning movement. It started right here in Walton County, and we're quite proud of it. And to a large extent, it makes those of us that work in Walton County that have had any part of this somewhat celebrities in the planning circles. And we're going to have 800 to 900 planners from all over the country and some internationally come to this particular conference to find out how the heck we did all this good stuff in Walton County. But we look forward to that and just wanted to make y'all aware of that and let you know that we're going to make arrangements for everyone to attend if you're available to attend that.
Thank you, Mac. And just a quick note. I spoke to Sydney earlier, and she's going to be setting up sunshine law training in probably the next month and a half.
Yeah, so just keep an eye out, Karen. You'll get an email from her and we'll schedule it. We usually try to do just an hour here. Well, it may be here or maybe in Freeport, but we'll figure out the logistics of that.
Is that a once-a-year thing?
Yes, and we're a little behind and I apologize for that, but we're getting back on track, so. It'll be coming up soon. Check your emails.
Very good. Anybody else have anything? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we did not have anything that was to have real controversial. But that's a good one to
This was
cut your teeth on it.
come in here, there's a whole row of attorneys sitting out there, and you start crying.
Yeah, no kidding, 'cause we're gonna be here for a while.